This is Brian Steele, Preacher Boy, and I say you better visit without your head.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and this is our Christmas special. And I'm joined by Krampus himself of A Christmas Horror Story and a lot of other cool things. We have Rob Archer. Good to have you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, and I've got my Krampus hat on for this.
Yep.
So first of all,
it's amazing. It's amazing over the past few years how much the Krampus culture has evolved. It's actually really, really cool.
Yeah, in 2011, it did a video as Krampus. Not nearly as cool as yours, but he seems to have really gone wild since then.
Yeah, because when the opportunity was presented to me, I had no clue who it was. I didn't know what a Krampus was, so I read into the folklore and found out it was the anti-Santa Claus, and I was on board just with that, I was on board because I've always been a fan of the bad guy, Darth Vader, Skeletor, always rooting for the bad guy. So being the anti-Santa Claus, that was right up my alley.
Yeah. So what kind of things did you look up about him? Because there's a lot of stuff out there when you start looking.
I just wanted to find out the basics, and I didn't really want to research into a lot of what other people have done because I wanted to create my own genre, my own niche with it, and not copy anything that anybody else had done. And I'd seen that no one had used their own real body for it. And, my lifelong dream was to get my own action figure at some point. And I thought this would be a chance to do Krampus using my own body and do a totally different version of it and just use body paint. So I went at it that way. I told the producers, I was like, they showed me kind of what the costume was going to be, which was very minimal, which was like a furry man skirt and some gauntlets. And I would come in with my body dialed in at around 4 or 5% body fat. And then we just use body paint. So it was a chance for me to kind of do like a Marvel superhero character and combine it with an animal.
Yeah. So
they left a lot of creativity to me, which I really loved.
Something you said there about dialing, down the body fat is that something you have to do for different roles? Like sometimes you have to get bulky or sometimes you have to get leaner.
Yeah, I have a coach, and I love diet. I love the whole diet process and being able to go up and down in weight. Put on a little bit of weight, dial down in weight. Like I get to puppeteer my own physique, so I love that. And then coming in with doing the Krampus was really taxing on me. So what I had done, I wasn't just. So what I had done was I planned to pile up photo shoots down in Fort Lauderdale, and I was down in Fort Lauderdale for 2 weeks before I came back to Toronto to film A Christmas Horror Story. So I had all my photo shoots. So I had a lot of material, to put out for social media. And then as soon as I was done that, I flew back to Toronto to work on A Christmas Horror Story.
So, I assume obviously you were a bodybuilder and into fitness before, getting to film, but was that something you had to do before a film, like to control the body weight and, put on
the whole fitness background with me, has always been there since I was a kid, and getting it, I did a lot of bouncing, right out of high school. As soon as I turned 19, I started bouncing in nightclubs and whatnot. So I realized the bigger I was, the less people wanted to talk to me. So, I ended up getting a coach, and I started off at 220 pounds, and I ended up at 315, and I stayed at 315 for quite a while. And it wasn't until I started dieting down and getting down into 290, 280, 275 that I really started picking up a lot more roles, and I I've had an athletic background. So I initially got into stunts and I was doing a lot of stunt roles. And then I wanted more. And it's like, then I started getting 2 lines, 4 lines, 10 lines, a guest star appearance. So, everything worked in together. So it wasn't just one aspect that I worked on. I worked on a lot of different things to get to where I am today.
Yeah.
But I do love knowing that I have an edge showing up. Like Big Rob Archer always shows up with an 8-pack on whatever he's filming. So having that edge and not having to have a special suit made for me or something like that. It's like I walk in and I take my shirt off and I'm good to go with whatever role they want to film.
Along those lines, you said, about getting, a lot more lines in movies is, when did you figure that's like something I would like to do more of too? Like, I'm getting roles as the big monster or the big bad guy, but I'd also like to do some more acting. I think
I really came through when I started doing Lost Girl. Like I did the very, very first, the pilot episode of Lost Girl. I played this big hammer tongue guy in the very first episode. And then I believe it was season 3, I was brought back as another character because the stunt coordinator on Lost Girl was saying, hey, you've gone through all the stunt guys in Toronto. You need to have somebody that can do stunts and can act at the same time and keep them relevant, find somebody that, the fan base is going to take to. So Paul Rapovsky came to me and he had said, hey, would you be open to doing this? And I said, absolutely, I would. And so they started off with Bruce and we shot an episode just introducing the Bruce character. And they didn't know if they were going to go with it, but there was such a great response to Bruce's character that I ended up becoming a reoccurring for 3 seasons. And that's what got me working on my line developing and more of my social skills on film.
I would assume that would also help your longevity in the business, not just being a big guy, but, also having the acting there.
Yeah, it did. It did lead to a lot of other opportunities. While I was filming Lost Girl, I ended up landing the Bioman on Defiance, which I played for 3 seasons as well. So I could be shooting Lost Girl on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then shooting Defiance Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It was chaotic, but it was amazing to always be busy.
Yeah.
I loved it.
We'll bounce around to different things if that's cool with you. Because I was wondering, you said, you were at 19, you were bouncing. So how do you go from that into stunt work and pursuing movies?
I ended up landing a role. I had no clue about acting, nothing. I started off doing commercials and I didn't even want to do it. I was working at a gym. I was a personal trainer at a gym when I was 19. And the guy that was my training partner, like most of my friends were in their 30s and 40s when I was a kid. So his wife owned an agency and she kept saying, I want to get you into doing film. Why don't you do this? And at that time, all I cared about was wanting to be a bodybuilder, which there's no longevity to that. Realistically, there isn't. And so it took a lot of coercing for her to get me to go and do an audition. And I went and I did one, and it was the most horrible experience ever. Like I had tears in my eyes when I walked out to my car. I was so humiliated because I wasn't always, defined with abs and whatnot. Like I was just a big kid, a big, strong kid. So my very first audition was for Cineplex Odeon, and it was a whole Cleopatra sort of theme that they were going with. And I get to the audition room, and I'm this naive country kid, and I show up, and there's all these huge jack guys there, right? And I'm really out of my element. And so we go in there. They're taking these list of gorgeous women that are going into the audition room with the olive skin and the long black hair. And then they would send 2 of us in, and we had to pretend like we were carrying them in on a chariot.
Right.
And so we get in there, and the director of the commercial was, going on and goes, okay, guys, this is what we're going to want to do. This is what I need you to do. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. And he goes, okay, take your shirts off. And right there, you could feel me kind of like, oh no. And I'm with like the biggest guy that was in the audition. He was just monstrous. And I just felt so out of place and I felt stupid. You know, I'm sitting there, you know, sucking in my belly, trying. And I walked out. And when she called me the next day to see how it went, I go, I'm never fucking doing this again. This was horrible. I'm not doing it again. And then eventually she got me to go out and I started landing, you know, small roles in commercials, and then started getting like some background work, but feature background work. And then it just kind of went from there. I ended up landing a role on a movie called Bulletproof Monk with Chow Yun-fat and Seann William Scott. I don't even know how I landed that role, but that's what got me into doing stunts, because I ended up doing some fight scenes in that movie. And I was getting really frustrated that Seann William Scott wouldn't hit me with this fake pipe. And I was like, I do worse than this on a Friday night. You can't hurt me if you wanted to. Just hit me with it and make it look real. Little did I know there was a stunt coordinator watching everything, and he saw me getting frustrated that they wouldn't play the scene more real. They were looking at it from a safety perspective. And so when the filming was done, I was at another audition for another film, and he's like, hey, I'm Paul Rapowski. I'm the stunt coordinator and producer of Mutant X. And he goes, have you ever thought about getting into stunts? And I just said, I'll do anything to be on film. I don't care what it is, just to put me in front of the camera. And so Paul, he's the one who's given me a lot of opportunities in my life. You know, he says, you know, you're a big dude, but you move really, really fast for a big guy. He goes, this is what I want you to do. And I ended up playing the co-lead villain for one of the season finale of Mutant X. And then it just kind of went from there. We kept in touch over the years, and he would, you know, I would shoot like a concept video for him, and then he would find a role for me somewhere. And then Lost Girl is where it really, really, really took off.
Yeah. Did you have a background in stunt work at all? Like,
No, I just played a lot of sports and I could take a hit. So it was like kind of learning as I went on. Like the very first time I went on wires and was running up walls and doing backflips off of it, they couldn't believe, because I was like 295 pounds. And they're like, I'd never seen a 295 pound guy do that. And I just was so full of piss and vinegar. All I wanted to do was impress everybody. And I just went balls out with everything.
What's like some of the weirder things people have asked you to do as far as stunt work goes that like maybe you had to learn how to do? And
a lot of the stuff I did, you know, a lot of stuff, there's rehearsals. So you kind of learn as you go. And it's like the last thing you want to do is say, I don't know how to do this.
Right.
You know, you have to accept.
People always tell me you should lie as far as movies go. Yeah.
I like to call that hustling.
Very good. That's a better term. Yeah.
Hustle your way through. But there is a lot of trial and error, and you have to accept you're not going to get everything perfect. You know, if you have that mindset that, oh, I'm going to screw this up, or I don't know how to do this, then there's no point in you being there. Nobody does everything perfect. You know, that's what rehearsals are for, you know, and it's just learning the beats of a fight. Like sometimes, you know, I'll have an entire full day rehearsal. I did a fight scene on a TV series called 13 with Stuart Townsend. And I had a fight scene with 7 people, and that was a full day rehearsal. And that was remembering all the beats, you know, was really, really taxing, on top of learning your lines and everything like that. And it was really, really physical, because I'm the big guy. I actually picked people up over my head and I threw them, you know, so it's just a lot of rehearsal.
Yeah.
Not a lot of weird stuff. I haven't done weird stuff. Incident in the Ghostland was a little weird, but
yeah, I'm a big fan of that movie. I saw it when I was in England for Freight Fest.
Wow, you really go all out. You went all the way out there for that.
Yeah, it was the only time I've been. Well, it was the first time I was out of the country. I've been since then, but we went to the festival. But we also, you know, took the chance to see London while we're there.
Yeah. No,
how did that movie come about?
I still have the full costume. I still have the full costume from Fat Man. I have the belly suit. I have the sweater that he got blown away in. I have the fake arms. I have everything.
Oh, that's pretty wild. Do you keep a lot of stuff?
I love keeping stuff from films if I'm able to.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I would. It's funny when I bring that up. A lot of people don't. I was like, you know, I definitely would if I was in stuff. I'd like to keep stuff from the movies.
Absolutely.
How did that movie come about? How did you get involved in it?
My agent wrote me, and I turned it down 3 times. I said I didn't want to do it, and because the whole name Fat Man, I'm talking to my agent, and I go, I have an 8-pack, and I'm not going to get fat for this role. And I didn't know that the director, what's his name, Logier, I can't remember his name off, Pascal Logier.
Okay.
He had seen my character as the Bioman, and he had seen some scenes that he wanted the way that I looked, and I said certain things. He wanted that with his Fat Man character. So the 3rd time I turned it down and said I didn't want to audition for it, my agent, called me, goes, listen, you're auditioning for this. This is what I want you to do. I know you can do this. And he says, you're a troubled, disturbed, adult, but with the IQ of a simple 11-year-old. He goes, I want you to, show me range. He goes, I want you to start off with, being calm, and then escalating it, and then losing your shit, and then going right back to calm again, like you didn't lose your shit. And my girlfriend at the time, I kicked her out of the condo. I said, I don't want you to be here for this, because I don't know how I'm going to do this audition. I don't want to be watched while I'm doing it. Yeah. And to this day, my agent said that was the best audition that I'd ever done. He goes, I did not expect that from you. And one of my close friends was auditioning for it as well. And he messaged me, he goes, hey, did you do this audition? I go, yeah. And then we swapped auditions, and his name's Pedro Miguel Arce. He's got an IMDb profile that's like pages long. Like he is who works with me on a lot of my roles and does a lot of my self tapes. So him coming back and going, wow, man, he goes, I didn't even think of doing it this way. He goes, that was awesome. You kicked my ass in that. And then I ended up getting offered the role.
Yeah. Does that experience then help your self-confidence, as an actor? And also, since you're covered up in the fat suit, you're not relying on one of your big strengths as, your physique.
No, it was as an actor, no, because there wasn't a lot of lines in it. I think a lot of it was, based on me being able to do stunts and being able to move in that crazy costume. Because the initial fat suit, I looked like I was 650 pounds. Like the initial one was massive, and when I put it on, I couldn't fit down the hallways and I couldn't go down the stairs. Like the suit was that big that they had to take it down to, less than half the size of it normally was. But it was an experience, because I was out in Winnipeg, which is like one of the coldest parts of Canada, for 2 months, where nothing happens, in Winnipeg in the wintertime. And so, it was kind of crazy, like, filming for 2 days. And it's like, okay, you're off for a week. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do for a week?
Right. You watch hockey on TV or something.
Yeah, pretty much that was it.
Yeah.
Hockey and social media.
Yeah. Well, the difference of that, because, you mentioned when you're playing Krampus, your body's pretty much exposed. So where was that filmed? Yeah. Was that actually cold when you're filming that?
Yeah. Like I said, just before I filmed A Christmas Horror Story, I was in Fort Lauderdale for 2 weeks. I lived in Fort Lauderdale for 5 years. So I had like a slew of photographers that were friends of mine that always are up for doing photo shoots with me. And then I came back to Toronto to film. My scenes were shot in minus 22 degree weather, so people are like, it's really cool how they added that breath in there. I go, no, that was actually me. And it was freaking cold. Minus 22 at 3 a.m. because my longest day of shooting, I think I had 2 days at 22 hours and 2 days at 18 hours. So they were really, really long days. Not that I was out in the cold the whole time, but when I was out there, they had a jacket that costumes had sewn in like pockets where you could put those like little heat pockets in, and they were constantly refilling that. Like, So the scene where I'm running through the forest, there would be somebody at the end of the forest with one of those jackets on because I'm running around half naked in -22.
Yeah. Could you see fine? You have a little bit of stuff over the eyes. I don't know if you have contact.
No, I could see fine. It was what a lot of people don't know was Krampus's face was layers and layers of, pieces of latex. It wasn't like I just put on a mask and here I'm Krampus. It was, the nose was different. My ears were covered up. I couldn't breathe through my nose. A lot of the times I couldn't open my mouth too wide or I would split one of the latex pieces. So like anytime I did like a roar or like a hiss sort of thing, it would rip at the corners of my mouth. So, that was the first time I wasn't able to breathe through the nose, and the first time my ears being covered up as well. So
how long of a process is that to put all the layers on?
I had an incredible FX team led by a very talented effects artist, Tracy Loader. There was 3 of them, and it would take the first couple times they did it with all 3 working on me, it was 8 hours. And then they ended up getting it down to 7.5 hours.
Knocked a half hour off. Had you worked with them before?
I'd worked with Tracy many times. I worked with her a lot on Lost Girl. She was Bruce's effects artist on Lost Girl. So it's always nice to show up knowing somebody that you've worked with before, and they know how I am and I know how they are. And I know they're going to do everything that they can to make me look good, make my character look good.
Yeah. And
it was my first time having an all-female effects artist team, and they were incredible, all of them.
Interesting. Did it take time to get used to, not just as Krampus, but whenever you're getting the makeup on? Was that something you had to get used to, or were you okay with it right away?
I was okay with it. Like I said, I played the Bioman for 3 seasons, and that was, not as intense as it was with Krampus. But, the first season of Defiance, the Bioman took about 4 hours to get ready with the body paint and the fake traps and then the head prosthetic. So I was used to it. And then Krampus just took it to a whole different level, and I liked it. I would go in, like, I think it was by the second fitting, Tracy's super cool. She knew I liked to smoke a joint, and sitting in that chair for 8 hours, I was like, come outside with me. And she would let me puff. And then I would go in and I would just kind of go to sleep while they did the makeup.
Right. You say you're in Toronto?
Yeah, it was all in Toronto.
Yeah. I know when I went to Toronto a couple of years ago, as soon as you enter Toronto, you could smell the pot everywhere because it was, I think it was right after they legalized it.
Yeah. Well, being a stuntman my whole life, I'm never not in pain. Like I've had so many injuries. So, I'd rather have a puff than take a pill, put it that way.
It's honestly would be better for you. I interview a lot of wrestlers because I do a pro wrestling show. So, a lot of them are in pain a lot. And would you say it's from, and their experience, it's from the constant bumps? Would you say that's worse on your body than like just one particular fall hurts you? The constant, grind on the body?
The constant grind, like I did want to be a wrestler at one point when I was younger. And then in my bouncing experience, I think I was about 21 when I did a couple of events for something called WWS, which was World Wrestling Superstars. And it was all
they were in Australia, right?
What's that?
I think they did. Is that the one that did a pay-per-view from Australia?
I have no idea. They traveled all over the place. And I just ended up being one of the big bouncer kids at this one place that they held an event. They did 2 events there. And it was all the guys that I grew up worshiping, Junkyard Dog, Jake the Snake Roberts, Greg the Hammer Valentine. And they were all beat up and sore, and that's when I decided that's not the angle that I'm going to go at.
Yeah. I've had a lot of those guys on my wrestling show. Not Junkyard Dog because he passed away before, but, it's no secret, like Jake the Snake, a lot of demons, a lot of the wrestlers have a lot of, issues.
Yeah, they do. That's the guys from the 80s, man. It's not the business that it is today. Like back in the 80s, it was totally different. Go go do WWF, and then we'll go out to a club and get smashed and, drink and party and everything. And, it catches up to you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't know if it's unfortunate or fortunate that I got to see that as a young kid, like the end of their road, that it detoured me from wanting to go that route.
Yeah, and I know some people like kind of make fun of modern wrestlers because they don't really go out and party a lot. They'll go back and play video games, but it's a much healthier lifestyle.
It's a much healthier lifestyle, and there's longevity to their careers now. It's still really taxing on their bodies, but there's a lot more, health conscious decisions, in the business today.
Yeah. How about using a chain in Krampus? Because I like the movie. I love Christmas Horror Story, but I watched it again for the interview, and I was like, oh, he's really flipping the chain around pretty cool.
Yeah, I did that. I didn't even know I was doing something with the chain, and I did that on the spot. The only challenging part was making sure it wouldn't wrap around my horns.
Right.
And I had ridiculously long fingernails that kept ripping, that were glued to my own fingers, that kept ripping off while I was doing the chain thing. And it was just, I was really happy with how that turned out, because I didn't have a rehearsal with the chains. I didn't have a rehearsal as Krampus doing it. I did it on the spot, and it worked out.
Yeah. What was it like doing, like, it looks like a very long fight scene. I don't know how long it takes to film that, but, with all the Krampus stuff on.
It was challenging. Those, like I said, the horns, they weren't light. They were fairly heavy, but it was, making sure that my, that I didn't tilt my head to one side. Like I was trying to, stay steady and balanced for the camera. And just making sure that I didn't wrap the chain around my horns or hurt the stunt man or George Booza when I did the headbutt. Having to be aware of all that extra on top of me, was a little bit challenging. That fight scene took an entire day to shoot, from all the different angles and whatnot. But I was really, really pleased with it. I was proud of it.
Did you know George before? George Booza plays Santa Claus?
Only from when I was a kid, and I would wake up hungover on my couch and Sinbad was on. So, I showed up on set, and I'm like, oh, wow. It was really nice to meet you. I had no clue that I was working with him until it was on the day.
Yeah.
And he's a great guy. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah. How about when you see the finished scene, when you see the finished movie, what do you think?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I do too.
Like I said, I was very proud of that movie. It was just the only thing that was disappointing was the distributor didn't really advertise the movie that much, because when I did the Toronto Film Fest, it did really, really well at the Toronto Film Fest. And I remember Cineplex reached out to the distributor and saying, why isn't this in our movie theaters? And then it's becoming like one of those quiet movies that nobody really knew about, that it's becoming a good sense.
I've noticed that over, because I really liked when it came out, but I watch everything. So, but I loved it. But I'm happy to see that over the years, like I think more people talk about it right now than they did when it first came out.
Yeah, absolutely. Because nobody knew about it in the beginning, because there was no hype. There's no real advertisement for it. And a lot of people didn't have much expectations. And then, with all the different, like the anthology angle, the little stories, and then William Shatner was absolutely brilliant in it. He just tied that whole thing together.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of anthologies. I always liked them growing up. I like Creep Show and the old Tales from the Crypt and stuff. So I'm happy that they've kind of made a comeback in the last few years.
Absolutely. I actually had that down when where you'd written like my horror films. What did I like? And I was a massive Jason Voorhees fan.
Oh, nice.
Friday the 13th, Final Chapter, and New Beginning are my absolute favorites. And the Creep Show, the original one.
I have it right here. The Creep Show in the clamshell. That's the first VHS tape that my mom bought me when I was a kid. The tape went out, but I still have the box because I think it's.
I think I hold the record for the most amount of rents on the Creep Show when I was a kid from the local video shop.
Yeah,
I was addicted to that monkey thing under the stairs.
That's my favorite too. Fluffy.
Yeah, that was my absolute favorite. That creature scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Yeah.
And I just loved it.
Yeah, to me, it's got all the best elements that I like. It's got like cool monsters, and it's fun, and it's got
Absolutely.
good. And when I'm older, I can notice it's got really good actors.
And then it's actually like Stephen King is in that first video with the meteorite. It's so rad.
$200 for a broken meteor.
Yeah,
I wouldn't give you two cents.
Hilarious.
But yeah, I'm glad you like that. So, were you always a horror movie fan?
I've always loved horror, and even to this day, I love horror. But I'm not a fan of a lot of the stuff that comes out now. It's too Hollywood. I like the '80s stuff. I still love all the '80s stuff. The original Freddy Krueger's and all the Friday the 13th back in the day. I like it when there wasn't so much CGI, and
I definitely agree with that.
It was more the cheesy story, going camping, because I camped a lot as a kid. So watching these movies, like, you go to sleep kind of scared, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I noticed that I talked about this with my friend Annabelle. We both grew up, I grew up near the state forest, and she grew up out in the woods a lot. And I think people who grew up like that, they enjoy movies like that more because they can kind of see themselves in it.
Yeah, absolutely. It adds realism. Like with the stuff today, you're not going to go camping and like a helicopter is going to come in and all these people are going to come in, fly out of nowhere. It's that creepy fucker that you think that's in the woods that's watching you that makes you sleep with one eye open.
Yeah. And the CG, there's always, I think, just something about the weight. You can tell, like, the CG it's not real.
Yeah.
And I say this, even bad, like, practical effects are fun. There's like a charm to them, but like bad CG is just bad and it's not very fun to watch.
I agree with you. I like the realism. Like, you can have a massive budget and do CGI and it takes the realism out of everything, but having, more of a B movie with realism, and because then you can, as a person, you can identify with what's going on in that film. You can almost smell that forest or that campfire or what's being cooked there. There's realism to it. You can put yourself in that position. So,
how about your family when you pursued acting? They must knew you were a horror fan. Do they watch your stuff now?
I don't really talk to my family.
Okay.
My mother tried to dissuade me from, telling me that I was wasting my time with my bodybuilding and trying to be huge and all that I was just wasting my time, that I should have gone to university. But then when I started showing up on TV, multiple TV shows and films, all of a sudden I was the good son.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the black sheep of my family, and I've just kept to myself.
I mean, I can relate to, I'm close to my mom, but my dad's side never had anything to do to me. And so, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I had nobody backing me while I was pursuing this. I just did it on my own. So I wasn't, so when I did, reach a point where I was getting a lot of attention, I didn't want anybody in my family trying to talk to my fans or something and saying, oh, I believed in him, and oh, I always knew he was special, and a bunch of crap like that. I did this on my own.
I respect that. So you said, a lot of injuries. Do you have like a lot of lingering injuries now, or?
Yeah. And I used to love the winter. Like, winter was my favorite time, but now I'm 46, and each year that passes, the cold hurts more and more.
Mm-hmm. So, I turned 46 in 2 months, but yeah. The cold bothers me for a different reason, because I used to be about 360 and I've lost about half my body weight. I'm about 185 now. And
good for you.
Well, thank you.
That's a lot of work, not just physically, but mentally as well.
Yeah, I would say the mental part is, when people talk to me, that's probably the main thing, is just to stay focused. Because they originally wanted me to.
There's a lot of habits that we create, like because my biggest, I was 330. Like I wasn't like a fit kid when I was younger. I was always a big kid. And so what I realized with the dieting down process, and what a lot of people have problems with, is the comfort food, and psychologically why why am I eating this now? And it's like realizing the eating patterns that we would have when we were younger that kept going as we were adults. And it's like eliminating those.
Yeah, exactly. Because originally they wanted me to get surgery, and when I looked into it, really wasn't someone to do. So I changed my, I stopped drinking. I stopped, I drink black coffee, and I don't have sugar or cream, and stay active. And I was diagnosed diabetic 2 years ago. And when I reversed it doing this, and now it's almost 3 years now. It's, taking medicine, and it's
last thing you want to do is be on a whole pile of chemicals.
What was that?
But it's last thing you want to do is be on a whole pile of chemicals. And it's good that you went and you did that, because you're gonna have a lot longer life. And now that you understand, like, a lot of the stuff that you were putting in your body is what was making most people can reverse their diabetes if they want to. It's their diet. Mm-hmm. And then you have people saying, oh, it's hereditary. Well, it's in my family too, but I'm not diabetic. I'm not even close. It's understanding food and your eating patterns that really help you.
Say, even I had different doctors who told me different things, and some of them had told me, yeah, you can't, once you have it, that's it. And then I had younger doctors who told me, no, you can reverse it. You lose weight and you get healthier, and that's
Absolutely.
What I did.
And you move around better, you breathe better.
Oh yeah, much better.
It's easier to find clothes.
A lot happier. That's a big thing too. It cost a lot to replace all my clothes, but I'm fine with that. I'm not going to complain about that. But it used to be I'd have to go on King Size Direct and order things, and now you can actually go to a store and find stuff, right? Yeah,
and you don't even feel good in it.
No.
You must have had a blast when you dieted down and lost all that weight, and you're able to, actually shop off the rack.
Yeah, I never wore I never wore skinny jeans. I bought a pair of skinny jeans after I lost 100 pounds for the first time. But,
well, as long as you don't start wearing your hair in a man bun, you're
no. I don't have much left here anymore.
Oh, you're bald. All right, just like me.
Yeah, I started buzzing it, but but no. Some of my friends made fun of the skinny jeans, but it was more of just like, hey, I can wear them now.
You can wear them now. So you actually have a choice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's better than just sweatpants all the time.
Yeah.
At least sweatpants.
Yeah.
So I saw you were in a Marvel movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah. I remember when I auditioned for that, and Marvel. So I didn't think I had a hope in hell with that character. And then my agent called me. He's like, they want to book you. And I'm like, are you serious? And it was a really, really cool experience. Like, I'd always wanted to go to LA and film at the big studios in LA. The thing with Ant-Man and the Wasp was I don't think they realized how big I was, because when I got out there, I kept losing scenes because they were shooting on a wide angle lens, and lining me up with all the other characters. I kept getting cut off at like my nose or part way on my mouth. And I lost a lot of scenes. So if you're watching the movie, you see a lot of my scenes. They're cutaway scenes where it's just me. So I lost a lot of screen time. I think I lost some lines because they couldn't fit me in with the rest of the cast on that.
I don't want to laugh, but that's that's something I wouldn't think about.
Yeah. Well, I got there and I wasn't used to, all the Hollywood people. They're all like 5'7", 5'6". They're all tiny, So I walk onto set and everybody's just above my belly button.
Actually, now I've mentioned that. I remember reading, I think it was Liam Neeson on the Star Trek prequels. It was something about him being really tall, and it caused some problems when they were filming things.
Yeah, it's always been an issue with me, where it's like, oh, we like his size, but he's way too damn big.
Yeah.
And that what also prompted me to start coming from the 290 weight down to 270, 275.
You're still bigger than everybody, so
it's still I look 300 pounds compared to everybody, even at like 265 or 270.
Yeah.
It's just mentally hard to drop that weight because I worked so hard as a kid to put on those extra 10 pounds, right. 10 pounds. And it's like, now I'm taking it away, but it's realizing I'll get more screen time and more film opportunities being smaller.
You know Tyler Mane, he's in a lot of stuff. He played Wolverine.
Yeah, I did a horror con with Tyler Mane, and it was amazing meeting him because his Beastman in the first X-Men, you know, was a big reason why I started pursuing the film angle of things. Like I watched it and I was like, I could have done that. You know, I could do that. And then all these years later, I ended up, you know, teaming up with him at a horror con. We're still in contact. We did dinner. We worked on a Netflix show called Jupiter's Legacy. And, you know, whenever he came to town, we'd go out for dinner and, you know, talk about stuff.
I saw a picture of that, and you got the claws, which is actually similar to his.
Yeah, it was cool.
But why I brought him up? I like him too. I've had him on the show, and I met him when I used to do a lot of conventions. He's a really good guy. But when he started making his own movies, he only hires people over 6 feet tall, and that's so everyone looks like normal people. Then it's not like this one guy. Yeah. He's like way taller than everybody, so it's like him and Derek Mears, and even I think even his wife is like 6 foot tall, and I just thought it was interesting.
No, he's a great guy, and I think he's got an inch on me height wise as well.
Yeah, I'm 5'5", so he's you're both way taller than me.
Yeah, I think Tyler's 6'7", if I remember correctly, and I'm 6'6". So
yeah, I hosted a panel. It was him, Derek Mears, Brian Steele, and Kate Hodder. And I was probably good for it because then they're all very tall anyway, but then I make them look even taller. So
that's a good panel.
It is. It was very fun. Men behind the man.
Very, very cool.
Yeah. Do you know a lot of, like, I don't know, is there a rivalry between any, like, maybe, you know, guys that are like when you're starting out, like, do you compete with people that are going for the same jobs?
I used to. I'd always find out who also was auditioning, and I would, you know, just physically, I would try to out angle them, like thinking, okay, this guy's got better line delivery, but he doesn't look like me. So it was, you know, I used to compete with certain people in Toronto, but not out in the LA. Like when I audition now, I know I'm not just competing in a Canadian market. I'm competing against people from all around the globe, and it's just, you know, whoever gets the role. You know. I just have a different mentality. It's like, it's not that they were better than me. They just, you know, brought something different, you know? So if I don't get it, you know, what I brought isn't what the director's looking for. And I'm fine with that. This is how I perceive the role. This is how I perceive the character. This is what I thought would work. And if you don't like it, then you go on to the next guy.
Yeah. Is that something you just, with experience, you get used to and you look at it that way?
You get used to, because if you hold a grudge, you know, it makes the whole experience kind of sour. You know, you get mad. It's just like, why the hell did he get this and I didn't? You know, well, I'll never know why. You know, so just leave it in the audition room and go from there.
So back to the injury thing. Is there anything was there any one particular thing that like on a movie that you got hurt, or is it just the concept?
No, because a lot of my characters are stunt action, you know, stunt performer, stunt action, stunt actor. You know, I go in knowing that I'm going to get banged up. That's what I get paid the extra coin for. And I've never had anything really, really bad happen. And I've screwed up my whole body. But when I was doing Pixels with Adam Sandler, I'd torn my Achilles, you know, 9 weeks before we filmed that. And they wanted to do surgery on me because I was so damn big. There's like putting weight on that's not going to heal. And I go, what's the recovery time for, you know, surgery? And they told me it was going to be like 3 to 4 months or something. I said, no, that's not an option. And there's a doctor in Toronto that worked on like Tiger Woods and all these Olympic athletes and pro athletes by the name of Dr. Gallia. And he did the plasma injection where they extract blood from you and then they put it in the vials and they spin it in this, I don't even know what it is. They spin it around for whatever, and they collect the concentrated blood and then inject it into the injury, and it speeds up your healing like crazy. So it was devastating to tear my Achilles doing something really, really stupid by playing softball. It wasn't even there was no cool factor at all.
Right.
There was not like I hit a home run and, something everybody was cheering. No, I went to pick up a grounder and it just snapped. And I didn't care how I got on to Pixels. I just had to get there. So I ended up having a friend that had a link with this doctor, and he did the plasma injection, probably one of the most painful things I've ever experienced in my life. And then I had to do hyperbaric chamber sessions twice a day for 2 weeks. And it sped up the healing enough so that I could, walk onto set. But then in Pixels, I ended up tearing it again on set. You can actually see it in the film where I tore it a second time. There was a scene where the actor Josh Gad is coming off the back of one of the military trucks, and I pick him up off the truck and I take a step. And in that very first step, my friend said he heard it snap again. And I finished 2 more steps, and then I put him down, and then I went to the hospital again. But the cool part was Christopher Columbus rewrote my role in that film so I could finish doing the film, but sitting down.
Oh,
so
wow.
it was actually really, really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Especially, for, a really big movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just a small guy in that film. I didn't have like a massive role or anything like that. So it was really cool that I made an impression enough that he wanted to keep me in right to the end. Yeah. So I was really happy. It was a surprise.
Besides, I guess, the pay, what's the difference between doing, a big blockbuster movie and working on like an independent film?
I love them both, to be honest with you. It's a big difference in pay, but I'm good with both. With the independent films, the actor, or the stunt performer has a lot more creativity allowed, whereas in the big Hollywood stuff, the big budget stuff, you're more do what you're told to do sort of thing, and you just go about what you're supposed to do.
My friend Dan Yeager, who played Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I know Dan very, very well.
I'm a big fan too.
I hired him for a film that I did as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he played my father in a film. And we had a ton of different choices on what we were going to do. And when I saw Dan on the list, I was like, no, it's got to be him. It's got to be him. He's got to play my father in this scene, because the character, Nathan Cross, had a rivalry with his father, and there was a lot of animosity between the two, a lot of aggression. And I took that from my own growing up. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, it's going to be Dan. And yeah, Dan came in and he played my father in it, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah. What movie is that out? I'd like to check it out.
It actually didn't do very, very well. My producer, fell very short. I was happy, because I was the executive producer on it, and I funded the whole film on my own.
Wakefield Project, is that it?
That's it, a Wakefield Project. That was probably the most horrific thing I've ever done, because there was so much things that weren't planned, and the producer that I had hired for that had promised me everything was going to go smoothly. Every single day there was a problem, and so having Dan come in to play my father, because when we went out to California to shoot this, we had no idea who I was gonna have play it. So that was, after all the bullshit we'd gone through, that was kind of like the cherry on top for me, was, having Dan come in and shooting. We brought him in just for one day to shoot. And it was like getting that done and smoking a cigar with him after we were done shooting. That was the highlight of filming that. What a lot of people don't know is that film was shot for under $100,000, so it was like, people, critique things. It's like, how far $100,000 goes on a film? Not very far. And I ended up getting an entire film made, for $100,000.
Yeah. Yeah. I brought him up because he said, he just wanted me to mention that he thinks you're a beast, and that's in a good way, he means. and he would like to put you in some of his scripts that he's working on.
Yeah, I would love to work with Dan again. He was absolutely great.
Yeah.
It's not too often where, I've worked with so many people, I don't fangirl over anything, but that day he's coming in, it's like, make sure everything's all right, make sure it's good, make sure Dan has this, make sure he has that. We're actually having aggressive lines, together, where I told him, I want you to call me a piece of shit, make this real, be my father, and he did an amazing job.
Yeah, I really like him a lot. I've hung out with him at conventions, and when you said a cigar, made me laugh because I know he's always going to the cigar bars. And
yeah,
he also has a really dry sense of humor, which I like. Yeah,
I remember emailing him and asking him what's his preference, what's his favorite cigar, and I believe it was a Monte Cristo. I made sure that we went and got two high-end Monte Cristos from like a good place in cigar lounge in that area. So it was really nice to sit back and, smoke that with Leatherface.
Yeah. He's a great guy. Is that something you'd like to do again? Or did that sour you on the experience of producing your own movie?
Using my own money? No, absolutely not.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I thought, this is going to be great. Like I didn't know any of the ins and outs on producing or being an executive producer and the responsibilities. I just thought if I threw money at it, my producer was going to take care of everything and everything was going to work out well, but there's just so much more involved. Would I do it again? Yes, but not with my own coin.
Right. Have you ever thought of, writing or directing?
I've thought of writing, doing horror shorts or horror thriller shorts. And with one of my best friend, Pedro, that I've mentioned earlier, we've spitballed a lot of stuff, but I think we've become notorious at just talking about ideas.
Right. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the good thing with the shorts, there are places they can go now. You can do the festival run, and then, they pop up on Shudder and Amazon and different platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. They do. But the only thing is budget wise, like it's now you got to have a much bigger budget to shoot anything because of the whole COVID protocols. And it's like, being able to shoot a short for like 50 grand or something like that, is now going to cost you over 100 and something just because of all the COVID testing and all the protocol and, whatnot. So now it's a lot more difficult to have a cheap indie film.
Yeah, it's come up a lot with film director friends of mine. I have friends with a lot of people who make independent film, and that doesn't necessarily hurt a big budget movie, all the protocol, but it makes it almost impossible for, a small independent film.
It makes it a lot more challenging now, because the big budget films, it's like, it's going to cost us an extra, 100,000 in testing, per X amount of weeks. They have that money. It's there, it's back. But an indie film, isn't backed by a big studio. It's by investors that, believe in the script and they don't want to put a whole pile of money. It might have like 4 or 5 investors that are putting, 100,000, 75,000 into it, and it's like before you could get away with that, but now it's a lot harder. You got to really, really sell out the film, to get an indie film going now.
Yeah.
Sell out the script. Sorry.
And then it's harder to even make your money back with the movie now with,
absolutely.
A lot of people still trying to figure, the whole streaming out.
Yeah, I never got a penny back on Wakefield Project. I didn't even get my deposits on the camera equipment back.
I don't want to laugh about that, but yeah.
No.
Yeah. So how did COVID itself? How did that affect your career?
I know Toronto was on a whole different angle with COVID. Like we were on such a lockdown that you couldn't go like further than a kilometer. Like if you were caught walking more than a kilometer, like 500 meters from your home, you would get carted by the police. Like it was it was crazy. The gym, my whole life is where I've solved all my problems, whether I was depressed, whether I was angry, I was frustrated, I was happy. The gym was always my answer. And it was also my social life too. When they closed the gyms down, that gutted me. I ended up losing 40 pounds, just because I didn't I didn't know how to deal with anything, because it was always, I'd figure it out at the gym, and having that outlet with everything that I did all of a sudden was gone. And it wasn't just the gym, it was my social life. Everything was gone all at once. And then filming, the industry shut down completely for over a year. There was nothing going on. There was absolutely nothing. And it was like my income, my social life, my physical aspect, everything was taken. And it's like, you got to get past that poor me kind of syndrome, because there was a lot of other people in a lot worse, cases, but it was, I didn't lose my home. I didn't lose my business, so it was putting into perspective that, okay, yeah, I'm eating away at my savings, but at least I have savings. At least I'm not being hung out to dry. I had saved, a good chunk of money. It was disappointing to have to, start using it, at a young age. I was supposed to, in my mind, when I was putting it away, it's like, I'd have this when I'm 70. And now it's like, because of COVID and what went on, it's like, now I probably have, an extra 5 years of work that I have to do to, put that money away again.
Mm-hmm. Have things started to pick back up?
Well, this whole Omicron thing, they're shutting down. Like, I just, with COVID happening, I ended up taking a security job for one of my buddies' companies. And I was running all the security at like corporate functions and Christmas events and stuff like that. And it was easy money. It was really good money. And, the clientele was easy to deal with. And then with the whole, like, Toronto, Ontario just is not on lockdown, but they cut the capacity to everything to less than 50% again. Yeah. And all my shifts for the end of the year were gone. So it's like, right now I'm looking for another part-time job before films. Like, I'll never stop filming. I'll go until I can't walk anymore, but it's doing stuff in between that I enjoy doing. Yeah. So running wherever they put me, I've been around for a long time. So it's like, let me run things, give me the outline of what you want me to do, and I'll run the event for you. So I enjoy doing that. And I get that, flexibility, like, to say, if something does come up, I need 5 days off this week. They're well aware, that, I'll come and go.
Yeah, you have to have that so you can still keep doing the film.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you stayed healthy during this time?
I drank a lot for the first year. I drank a lot. Like, it was like, what else is there to do? Right. There's not, like, you can barely even go outside, so it was like drinking a lot. But, like I said, not having the gym, I dropped a lot of weight, and which spiraled into a downward depression, because as the weight started coming off, you're looking in the mirror and you're feeling more and more down on yourself. So it was, it wasn't a fun time, and it, not just for me, it wasn't fun or easy for anybody. I don't think,
definitely not.
It was really, really hard for everybody. So it was like putting into perspective, of what I need to do to bounce back from this, and, losing all of the weight, and realizing I'm not that kid that, I can go lift all the crazy heavy weight and eat 10,000 calories a day again and just put it back on. It's like, putting a bit of it back on and coming back up to maybe, 265, and having to come back at it from a different angle, like just training totally different in a way that I've never trained before, rather than, training with an ego and, everybody in the gym is watching you, and lifting heavy weight. I've gotten to the point where I don't care what anybody thinks, with what I'm doing. I need to do this, and I'm going to train this way because it's going to give me longevity with my own career and still being able to do stunt acting, so if I start training this way, doing core exercises, I've never done that before. Like, a lot of that stuff was when my chiropractor was telling me what I needed to do. I was like, oh, this isn't fun. This is stupid, because I always trained, knowing people were watching me. It's like, can I get a picture with Big Rob afterwards? And it's like, all that is gone. And now I just train to make sure that I can function on set. Nobody's going to watch me do, 3 sets of 25 with like 40 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, it's not exciting to watch, but it's
In the
trying.
long run, though, it probably, like you said, it's going to help your longevity and then your well-being.
I'm used to training with an ego. I'm used to lifting with an ego, knowing there's a lot of people around. Oh, he knows me from this. And it's like, you got to mentally, I had to let all of that go. And it's just like, go in and train for yourself, go in and train for your career. So it's very, very different. I'm still getting used to it, but at least I'm getting back. I've like I said, I dropped down to 239 at one point, and I haven't been that weight since I was about 20 years old. So, I'm back up to about 265, which I feel good. I'm moving around. My abs are coming back in. So it's slowly coming back together.
That's very good. Are you working on anything currently?
No, right now I'm just doing the security thing and training a lot and getting back to my proper eating regimen. I did a movie last November and December, which really saved my ass, called The Man from Toronto. And that was with Kevin Hart and Woody Harrelson. I had a nice role in that. So
nice. Great
a lot of dialogue. I had a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
So I was really happy. It was really, really cool to, have a lot of dialogue going back and forth with Kevin Hart.
Yeah, that's awesome. By the way, you go on, sorry.
He's one of the most incredible people I've worked with. Like, Kevin Hart and Adam Sandler are hands down the two best dudes I've ever worked with on film. But having all that dialogue with Kevin, like, he's mad energy, man. He's an energizer.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we mentioned this before I started recording. Was I had in the notes about adding the tattoos in a movie, but as soon as we get on here, I realized that those are your tattoos. So
yeah, those are mine. Those are me. I'm up to about 265 hours of tats.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Because people go, how many do you have? And I go, fuck, I don't know. Like, a lot of them go into one another. Some I've had done over and added things to it. I have a tattoo artist that I've been using religiously for well over 10 years now, because if there is anything where I need to sign off on, so there's no copyright infringement, my guy will sign off on everything because he's done all my ink. And that's Scoot Mason in Toronto. He does a lot of the celebrities and a lot of the pro athletes, so he does all my ink. And if there's anything that needs to be signed off on, like I needed my character to be signed off on for A Man from Toronto, because that was produced by Sony and they do everything by the book. So he's able to sign off on anything. Mm-hmm. If I was using like 5, 6, 7 different tattoo artists, it's a real pain in the ass to get
everyone
those signatures, right? So having one guy that, when I was doing pixels, they called him in BC at 6 a.m. and he's like, hell yeah, I'll sign off on Big Rob. Yeah, no problem. It's like, where else are you going to find a tat artist that cool?
Yeah, that's something I wouldn't even think about, but I know it has come up, with other people about, that the artist owns the artwork on the tattoos. Yeah,
that all started with The Hangover, when they copied Mike Tyson's face tattoo onto The Dentist. Mm-hmm. That's what the whole copyright infringement really, really sparked the industry, was that one scene.
Yeah,
because they didn't get permission to duplicate that tattoo onto The Dentist.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. But how about covering them up then? Like for Krampus, Krampus, I guess you're going to be all covered up anyway. But are there too many roles you do where they need to cover up the tattoos?
No, there isn't. Like most of the roles that I play, they love that I own the rights to my tattoos and that they can be signed off on, because then that saves hours and hours of, if they have a character that they want tattoos on, it saves hours of putting it on. And then, when you're shooting multiple days and having to add tattoos, making sure it's precisely put, because you have those people that watch and nitpick over the smallest little details. So all mine is me. I just show up as me. So it makes things a lot easier. And, I have done stuff where they cover it up and they know that getting into it, and it's never been a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all original artwork. So you don't have like, I know like the wrestler CM Punk has a Pepsi tattoo and stuff, and they always would have to remove that on like boxes.
Yeah, that would be a pain in the ass to do. Yeah, you need a few signatures on that.
Right.
But mine's all original art.
Yeah. I did want to ask about when A Christmas Horror Story came out, and you get to see that you're a big part of the cover art of that.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was on the DVD and the Blu-ray. It was when that all came out, I'll be honest with you, I cried.
Oh, that's
you know
awesome.
what I mean? Like I couldn't believe it. I was crying, because I was kind of like this loser kid in public school, and now, after doing Defiance and Lost Girl, I'm the guy that's on the cover. I'm the person that people are cosplaying. It was really cool to take this character that I didn't know a whole lot about and just add my twist to it, and it went. And so to be on the covers was really, really cool, and being involved in all the film festivals, for kind of hyping the movie was really, really nice.
Yeah. Did you get to go at any of those?
Yeah, I did. I did the premiere Fantasia Film Fest in Montreal. I did another the Calgary Film Fest, and then I did the Toronto After Dark Film Fest, which my character won 2 awards for. Like, I woke up the next day and I had a whole pile of text messages and emails, and I'm like, what is this? That's like, I won what? Holy shit. I won Best Monster Creature and
That's
Best
awesome.
Fight Scene.
Yeah.
So that was really, really awesome.
What's that like to be in the festival with all the people and watching yourself on the big screen?
It was trying to watch my mouth because I'm a night person. It's like going up, and it's like, it's not just me. I'm representing the executive producers in the franchise that put this together.
Right.
So it's, speaking like Rob Archer, but without all the F words. So it was like being up in front of the crowd. It was like, I'm not speaking just myself. I'm speaking and I'm representing all these other people that I'm up here with. And it was good for me, because I started booking more appearances when I was a lot more politically correct when I spoke, and realizing that it's not just me, that I'm just trying to make people laugh, that it's like everybody that's up here with me, I'm representing them. I loved it.
I was going to say that could be something you could look into too, is conventions. I don't know if you've ever done those, but, doing autographs and stuff.
Yeah, I was doing them for a while, but now that I did a bunch of Lost Girl conventions, I did sci-fi conventions. I was really hoping with after Incident in the Ghostland and my Krampus character, I would have started getting into some more of the horror cons, because I love meeting my fans. I love taking photos with them. I love getting out of Toronto and just meeting people and traveling. So, then once I thought that this stuff was going to start snowballing and I'd start picking up horror cons, and I reached out to my old Comic-Con agent and said, I want to go back on the circuit. COVID kind of took place and shut that down. Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully in the future, I'll get back to it, because I really love meeting everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know a few people. I'll put the word out. I mean, they might not listen to Nasty Neal, but
No, any hype about me would be appreciated, because like I said, I love meeting my fans. I love finding out why they watch characters or certain movies that I've done. It's always interesting.
Yeah. How can people follow you? See what you're up to.
I'm not a big buff on social media anymore. Just my Instagram is the only thing that I write, that I do social media on. I don't do Twitter. I don't do Facebook. So Big Robbie Archer on Instagram is how you can find me or follow me. DM me with questions, whatnot. I love answering anything that comes my way.
Very cool. Well, this has been really fun. I enjoyed having you on.
Thank you very much for having me, bro.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to do it again sometime.
Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. And we can do it again sometime if you're up for it.
Absolutely. I just got to do something worth watching again.
I don't want to laugh at that, but yeah, it made me laugh. All right. Very cool. I really do appreciate this.
All right, man. Thank you very much, and have a Merry Christmas.
You as well. Merry Christmas. Merry Krampus.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a good day.